So, ladies, I have another devotion for both of you, and I titled this, What We Must Do. And once again, these are my opinions. I don't speak infallibly or as a prophet, but this is really, I suppose, more of a continuation of my previous message, which was what's to come, or what I feel is going to come. This is kind of part 2 of that. But I was listening the other day to a active brigadier general. I think he works for the Air Force Intelligence Wing at the Pentagon or thereabouts, and he was giving a talk on what I will refer to as the horrific buildup of the Chinese military. I mean, it is astronomical. And he said that currently China has over 230 times our shipbuilding capability. That is when you compare it to the United States. So I asked myself, okay, well, what would be the percentage equivalent of that? And I believe it's over 20,000% greater than the shipbuilding capability of the United States. I mean, over the last 5 years, we built something like 50 ships, maybe a little over that, whereas China is building about 1,600 ships a year. So that's not really something that we can ever catch up to in the near future. This is unbelievable. So he talked about that. He talked about the fact that China has the cyber capability, the hacking capability of all the world's government hackers combined. And you can probably deduce that in other areas of their military, like their missile production, their MIRV ICBM production, their missile boats. They have superior manufacturing capabilities in those areas as well. And he also went on to call China not a near-peer adversary like the old Soviet Union was, like Iran, all of that, but a peer adversary of the United States, that they have for the most part caught up to us technologically and far exceeded us in virtually every area as far as their manufacturing capability is concerned. And so I think what we have now, whether people want to admit it or not, summer of 2025 now, it's June of 2025, is that while we go about our lives, whether it be in our churches or elsewhere, that what China is likely going to bring to bear upon the United States in the very near future now will overshadow virtually everything we do. Now, I think there's one fundamental flaw in both the Trump administration and I think also in the Biden administration. That is in the way they were dealing with China and Russia, Iran, countries like that. And I think the flaw was found in the fact that these administrations are willing to give China, Russia, Iran, their sphere of influence as long as they leave us alone. And I think the fatal flaw is that these people fail to recognize that the regimes of these countries, not the people, but the regimes, are fundamentally evil. And evil at its core, whether we want to admit it or not, devours everything around it. To think that you can contain evil, that if evil is allowed to have its sphere of influence, that it will leave us alone, is fundamentally flawed. The only way to deal with it is to eradicate it. So the only way for, Ukraine to deal with Russia is to eradicate the Putin government. The only way for Israel to deal with Iran is to eradicate the Iranian government. And the only way for the United States, if she has any potential of surviving, is to eradicate the Xi Jinping government within China. And so that's what we're not really waking up to. It's a fundamental and I think willful misunderstanding of what afflicts these countries and how these countries are going to have to be dealt with if we, as a sovereign country, are going to have any chance of surviving. That's where the United States is now. There was one listener who told me kind of brazenly to chill out, that, the United States still has superior nuclear deterrent and all of that relative to China. But my response to all of this, and to, the 2 or 3 people who are going to listen to my rant here, is don't be so sure. They exceed us, over 230 times our capability in shipbuilding. Don't think that's not the case in their nuclear missile production, in their sub production. I think if we're going to have any chance of remaining a sovereign country, whether we want to admit it or not, we're likely going to have to preemptively hit China militarily if we're going to have any chance of eradicating their offensive capabilities against us. I think if we don't do this, we're going to find ourselves in the very near future, likely during the Trump administration, when we will be checked by China. And from then on, we will no longer be a sovereign country. And tens of millions of Americans are going to find that untenable and are not going to be able to cope, whether they be in the church or not, with that scenario. But I think that's where we are now. And I think outside of all of that, I recognize that we are not Israel, all right? I say this as an evangelical Christian, but I, at the same time, recognize that the God of Israel is the one true God. And so perhaps if enough Americans begin to repent and cry out to the one true God for mercy over this country, we might stand a chance of retaining our sovereignty. But I think that it will have to get so much more dire for us to do that it may in fact be too late by the time we do begin to cry out. So those are just some of my ideas here. I recognize, as I always say once again, that I'm not infallible, but I think that there are some excruciatingly difficult choices that we're going to have to make if we are to maintain or have any chance of maintaining our independence and our identity as the United States of America. I think that what Ukraine is going through right now is likely what we're going to go through very soon. You know, they're fighting for their identity and their sovereignty against a filthy adversary that invaded them. And I think that we, too, will soon be doing that very thing. God bless you both.